And welcome to another exciting episode of Gaming Hall of Rivalries. I am your host, Jeremy Evans, with my friend and my co-host, Curtis Scism. How are you doing, buddy?
Good morning.
So, Curtis, this is the second to last episode of this show, and it's been a pretty good journey.
It's been a fun ride.
It's been a fun ride. We've been getting together almost like every Sunday, maybe like one Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
And just sitting here and just like discussing these wonderful icon characters, talking about the journeys, talking about what they're doing now, what aren't they doing now, you know. Just, and the funny part about all these characters we mentioned is that these characters not only are special icons, but they have changed so much in gaming. And you don't even have to play their games to know that. You just know that by game developers today that they were influenced by a lot of these iconic characters that we're talking about. So when people talk about I was inspired by this and this and this is what this whole show is basically on, right?
Yeah.
And so for people that are now jumping in, well, you got plenty of material to go backwards on. But this is a Game Halls of Rivalries where we pick two iconic characters that rival each other in gaming, not in a battle to the death, but more of what they have done for the industry and how they rival each other on that. And so we started from Mario and Sonic, and now we're down here to these two iconic characters that I could say they're one of the biggest icons. And the funny part is when we go down this line, I don't think I was trying to like rank who was the least to the best. It was more of from, you know, the balance of who do we think is the biggest talks in these iconic characters, and we try to balance that out where we do like, here's a big one, here's some ones you probably didn't know they rival each other, here's another big one you probably didn't know, all this stuff. And it's interesting when we sat here and discussed about what characters that rival each other and why. For instance, you know, Curtis came on when he was doing this recording session with me. He was talking about, he said, you know what, I think that, you know, Lee and Clementine and Joel and Ellie rival each other really well, you know. And it was really interesting that you brought that, because at first I was looking at you like, I don't know where you're going with this, Curtis. But at the same time, you know, he discussed of how these two characters stand out in so many ways. And that's the cool about this show, that we're putting two characters that we don't think like, how did they rival each other? So Curtis, like, what's your full opinion on this show and the rivalries and stuff? What was your experience feel?
When I saw the list, it was very fun to see what you had paired together. I really had to wrap my head around the Toads and Moogles, but they were great support characters. They had both developer companies gave respect to both of them, gave them their own solo games in some sense. Mm-hmm. Another favorite one that I had was the Battle of the Spies was Sam Fisher and Solid Snake, two espionage titles, but
right. And most of the time for the show, how it really works is we pick the most popular character, say like Mario. Then we sit there and we talk about, well, who can rival who can rival this character? And at the time, it was Sonic. So that's what we do. We take the characters that are big, iconic, and then another character will come into that genre, and that's how they get that rivalries, right?
Another fun one was Bayonetta and Dante.
Exactly.
I mean, I've never seen just two characters from the same mind borrow ideas from each other.
Right.
Nathan Drake and Lara Croft episode. Mm-hmm. You know, we talked about the give and take between, well, Uncharted took a lot from Lara Croft, then the Lara Croft reboot took a lot from the updated Uncharted games, right. And there was this nice little marriage between these game devs of, hey, look what they did with that. Mm-hmm. Well, we can take that back.
Right. And then another thing we try to do is we put our personal opinions on the future of these characters. Like, what do we want to see from the future of these characters? What do we hope for? And, you know, some characters still have a future, and some characters kind of like, I think their story's done.
I think they're on the shelf.
Yeah, you know. And so, but this one right here, these two characters that we're going to talk about are still going strong. The funny part now is that they're going strong, but right now in gaming, as you listen to the show, they're kind of slowing down. And they when they come out and they get announced they're coming back out, the hype level goes up high. But then you know that you're not going to see another one for a very long time. And so these two characters will rival each other because not only that, you know, they were very strong characters, but they're the only characters you could think of that help protect the galaxy. And these two characters is Master Chief and Samus Aran from Metroid. And these characters not only rival in space, like I said, but there's another little story behind it. So one of the things on the show is when we talk about how they rival each other, what the story is on this, it gets more intriguing, and then we like to get right into what makes these characters stand out. So what do these two stand out the most? Well, remember when Metroid came out, it was way in the beginning of the NES era, and Samus has gone through the course, while Master Chief didn't really come until the Xbox era.
Yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So Samus is like on this long streak before Master Chief came along. And it wasn't one of those like Master Chief came along and then like went against Samus. It was a funny coincidence that Master Chief and the series of Halo and Samus's new entry into the next gen, the Metroid Prime series, were both coming out back to back to each other for 3 years. And that what made it so interesting about it, because I think that's where the rivalry started, not only like in the industry, but people would compare them who would win in a fight and all that kind of stuff. So you start seeing this rivalry and all this
kind
stuff
of building up.
Yeah. And so from there, the dates that each one came out for that gen, we're talking about the gen of the PS3, the Xbox 360, and the Nintendo Wii at the time. And so Master Chief Halo Combat Evolved came out in 2002.
2001.
Oh, 2001. I apologize. 2001. And that was in November, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and then Metroid Prime came out in November 2002.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
Then after that, they both start coming out the same years. So Metroid Prime 2 came out in November 2004, while I believe
Halo 2 came out in 2004.
In November.
Yep.
And then Metroid Prime 3 came out a month ahead of Halo 3 with August 2007, while Halo 3 came out in September. Mm-hmm. So, and the funny part is this was a trilogy, and then after that, they were done with that era, and they went into the next one. Granted, Halo 4 did come out as the last last
5
ship.
years later.
Yeah, last ship. It was like on the last leg of the 360. While we didn't see another. Well, actually, no, I take that back.
We had Halo Reach in 2010.
That's right. Go ahead.
Halo 4 came out in 2012. And then 2015, Halo 5 Guardians came out. And the Halo Wars 2 came out in 2017. And
okay. So from there, though, I forgot about Other M, and Other M came out in 2010. So actually, for both...
That's another release, parallel release.
Yeah, so actually, I take that back. They actually have 4 games in that cycle.
Yes.
Each. So that's even more crazy. And
that is very curious.
Yeah, I don't... But it's funny because it makes you feel like that they're both in that same galaxy saving at the same time, per se, and all that stuff. But... both characters are really strong characters, especially one is a female and one is a male. And it's interesting, too, because the one thing they have in common, and Master Chief still keeps this going while Samus is kind of more open to everything, was the hidden identity of these characters, right? Like, you didn't know that Samus was a woman until the very end of the first game of Metroid. Yeah. And Master Chief is still mysterious to this day. No one really knows what his face looks like. I think you've seen like the back of his head or something like that. But you never really saw him
see his face.
Yeah. So like identity has always been the thing because they always stayed.
Well, it's like Judge Dredd, how he should be. He never takes off the helmet.
Right. So these characters always just keep their identity in their suits. And the fact that later on, Samus is kind of now, she mainly still stays in her suit. It's very rare that she opens her suit and everything like that. Mm-hmm. But overall, these two characters were, big iconics at the time. They were going back and forth, and they saved the galaxy more than 1,000 times, going against certain races that are trying to, corrupt the galaxy and everything like that. Curtis, what is your opinion on these two characters?
The hard thing with Master Chief is he does have a voice actor named Steve Downes, but throughout all 5 games, he has very limited speaking.
And that's the same thing with Samus.
And
very silent characters.
the game devs wanted him to be a very blank slate, so you, the player, could insert yourself into that role.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely what I get from Halo. As a PlayStation kid, my only hands-on experience with Halo is going over to a friend's house,
Me too.
playing the multiplayer. And I think what transcended from Halo is the gameplay, the mechanics, the regenerating power shield, the dual-wielding weapons.
Mm-hmm.
I think that heavily inspired modern shooters to now.
Mm-hmm. It actually put a lock on of, you can't have a whole arsenal in your hands. You can only carry two weapons at a time. Mm-hmm. And then melee was a big thing on there too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think a lot of modern studios almost use the combat from Halo as a template, if not a building block, or almost a blueprint. Definitely the Call of Duty game, Infinite Warfare that came out a few years ago, definitely felt like that.
Right.
It's like, it's not quite Halo, but you guys took notes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I definitely think it's a good foundation for shooters. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, using such a template. Also with Master Chief 2, it's very funny because when I say Nintendo, you think Mario. Sonic, you think Sega. Sony, you name several faces come to mind. Xbox has Master Chief. He's definitely that iconic face. He's like that face of the company.
Mm-hmm. And before we even start like getting into these characters, there's one thing too. Samus didn't get this feeling because Mario was the icon, but I think Halo was the game that was the faith of the console where it was going to go. Like if Halo did not succeed, then I think the Xbox would have been like, non-existent as right now in this industry.
Keeping on gameplay, Samus, even the Metroid feel of going through this section. Oh, I can't get through this right now. You go to plot B, the other side of the map. Oh, you get something. Now, hey, let's try going back to that path.
Well, let's get into that. So the first half of the show will be about Samus from the Metroid series, and then we will have Curtis finish it off in the second half. So sit back and enjoy your ears and enjoy this pretty jam-packed episode that we're going to try to do as much as we can. So Samus, Metroid, back in like 1986, I believe, and basically Nintendo, you had your Mario, you had the Zelda, but they wanted a game that kind of like, I want, both. Like, we need to make a game where you're both a 2D platform, but also getting upgrades as you go. So you can see that Zelda and Mario were influenced into that game about exploring, but keeping it 2D, right? Mm-hmm. And so the thing about that is that's where it started off doing this chronology of all these games. But basically, they wanted to make this game. They wanted to make her. Actually, funny story. It starts out, she was just a ball. They wanted her to be a ball and just roll around everything, and then they decided to make her into this kind of character person. And then one of the developers were talking about, like, wouldn't it be interesting if she was a woman? Because at that time, I think this is a game that inspired that women characters can be cool too. Yeah. And the fact that they kept it a surprise wasn't for the scare of sexuality. They were not afraid of that, but they wanted to maybe show that, it doesn't matter what character really is behind the suit. Don't just automatically think it's just a male. Right. And so I think that opened the door for even more female characters to come in. Because I can't think of any other characters at that time that wasn't the whole damsel in distress.
That wasn't getting kidnapped or stuff.
Right. And so from there they did that. And the funny part is Metroid was inspired by Ridley Scott's Alien. So if anybody is an Alien fan, this is where it can find. And it makes a lot of sense because if you look at some of those creatures that you fight in the game, they do resemble a little bit from Alien.
Even like the engineer, like in the chair, like the first section of Metroid on the Super NES. I mean, you come across something like looks like a freaking space jockey.
Right. And so And then the character itself, Samus, is basically designed inspired by Ellen Ripley, the main character off of Alien, and then Kim Basinger. If you've seen Batman, she plays
LA Confidential.
Yeah,
as well.
she plays Vicky Vale. So you could tell where where the blonde hair and everything like that. Yeah. So that's how they were inspired. So you had the inspired badassness of Ripley and then the looks of Kim. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't see that coming from that one. I totally thought the blonde was from like someone else, But the fact that too is, like you were mentioning, it was the dawn of the term name Metroidvania.
Yeah.
Compared to, included with the Castlevania series. So, the key word is exploring. And this was a game where at the time you had to explore and you would get stuck somewhere and realize that I need a certain thing to get to this new area. And that was totally different in gaming to me, because when I first played Metroid, I played late. I didn't play the first Metroid. I didn't play Super Metroid. Metroid Prime was probably my first game I ever played, and then I backtracked to everything else. And I actually played Zero Mission. That was the remake of the first Metroid, which I prefer a lot better, because playing the first Metroid, everything looks too identical, so you can easily get yourself lost. But the fact it was a game where, if you did play Zelda, yes, Zelda was a game where, you're supposed to find a certain weapon, but it was never limited to you. Mm-hmm. It was more supposed to be helping you to beat a certain boss, right?
Right.
But in Metroid, it was more like you had to use it as a key item to get to this next thing. Like, hey, you can't get in this door, you got to get rockets. You can't get in this door because you need this ability. And I thought that was kind of interesting because everything was color coordinate. Did you notice that, right? Like, this is a green door, only rockets can get in there, and all that stuff. And it always blew my mind because the fact, like, I have rockets. When this door just explode, like
yep.
Why? I don't understand. But that's the weird thing. But the key word of this game is Metroid, right? The goal was that even though that Samus was was identified at the end as a girl, but you didn't even know what a Metroid was until like the very end, right? Yeah. So that this whole game itself was like a mysterious thing. So going into Samus, though, Samus was born on Earth in a mining colony called K-2L, and the planet was raided by space pirates led by Ridley, hence the giant demon kind of looking creature, Ridley, and it killed her parents in the colony. So here's the thing about Samus right now that we don't know. One, we don't know how old she is. We can only speculate that right now she has to be closer to her 20s. Yeah. That's what I'm speculating. So the fact that Ridley's been around for that long during this whole time, because if you play the first Metroid game, you don't even get a backstory. You get, here's the title, press start, she comes down on this planet. That's it.
Yep.
You don't know anything else about her. And the fact that we find out that Ridley kills her parents later on, and for the listeners, this is based on a manga that's only in Japan. So, but from there, she was actually founded by these bird-like aliens race known as the Crozo. And so for people that don't know what that is, if you ever play any Metroid game, if you see some kind of bird-like stone creatures, holding out an orb or a new element, those are the beings that raised her. And so there are ancient rates and everything like that. And they brought her to our planet. I want to say it's called Zebes. And that's the most popular planet. That's the first planet you actually land on in the first game. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that she was raised and taught by these beings, and then we're going back to this world again, right? And so they basically saved her life, and they gave her the title Protector of the Galaxy and infused her DNA into her. And so that makes sense, because that's why in the game you can adapt real easily to the environment, and you can basically deal with these upgrades. So that makes a really good explanation for that. But it granted her superhuman powers and stronger resistance to foreign environments. So That makes a lot of sense too. And that's why, like, if you ever play Smash Brothers, why she's so freaking powerful. She is a superhuman. And I never thought she has superhuman abilities because a lot of people.
Zero Suit Samus in Smash, she kicks ass.
Right. But you didn't know that because remember, it wasn't until Zero Mission where they decided to offer her outside the suit.
Yeah.
But at the whole time at the very beginning, we all assumed it was just the suit that did it all. Because remember, even at the end of the first Metroid game, she was wearing nothing but, basically a bikini outfit.
Yep.
That's it. So the fact that the Zero Suit outfit now shows us that she was infused with DNA and she has superhuman human powers. So that's now even more interesting of that why she can take these hard struggle battles against, Ridley and all these other space pirates and the Kraid and all these big monstrosities beasts and everything like that. And that's the thing too. This race trained her how to fight and gave her the artifact, the power suit. Didn't even know the suit was an artifact. So this not only was a powerful suit, but it was given from an ancient race. I did not know that, Curtis. And then she got enlisted to the Galactic Federation. And she left the Federation like right after, like maybe I think a year in because of a disagreement. And now she decides to become this bounty hunter. And the Federation hires her to investigate certain things in space based on her skills. And so that's basically Samus in a nutshell. And it's funny too because Samus is more of what makes her fascinating is the journey she's on more than what her backstory is, right? And the story supposed to tell you through the things. So basically, for people that probably don't know, and I think Metroid has a lot of games out, so I kind of just want to give you all a heads up. So Metroid Zero Mission, or Metroid the first game, is the very first one you should play as part of the story. Then Metroid the Prime series is right after that. Okay, so you probably want to play all of those, anything with Prime in it. Then it wasn't until the Game Boy edition, now remastered to the 3DS, and that's Samus 2's The Return of Samus. Then Super Metroid is the next one after that, the one on Super Nintendo. Then Other M, then Fusion. Fusion is a phenomenal game, but that is the finale. So I think any Metroid games that we ever get is always going to be between Zero Mission, the very first Metroid game, and Fusion. Because the Fusion one kind of ends all Metroids, where even the Metroids become an infusion for you. Now you have the ability, you can infuse Metroids and be more powerful. So now we're getting all these stories in between and what she has done. And that is kind of interesting too, because it's such a big galaxy out there that now they could just make up any story and it's in between these two going around the galaxy. So Curtis, what is your opinion on Samus? And did you play a lot of Metroid games?
I did not. No.
Okay.
Not growing up.
Okay, but did you ever have hands on like Super Metroid? You said
I have Super Metroid on the Wii.
Okay.
I have it downloaded on the Wii. Play it with my son Trevor, and yeah, I like the exploration. If you look at Mario and Zelda go wide, very wide. Metroid goes very deep in its level detail. There's floor after floor after floor, room after room. Mario, and what I mean by Mario goes wide is it's left to right, and there's this world after world after world after world. Metroid kind of stays in one place, but there's this. It's the same planet. She never leaves planet in Super Metroid, from what I can tell. It's just this whole cavern underneath the ground that she explores.
So let's talk about all the abilities that she has. So Smash Brothers can kind of give you a little gist of this, but I want to go a little bit details. More of the power suit. So the power suit can give you the ability to turn to a morph ball, which, that's crazy. Morph ball, you can shoot missiles, you can shoot super missiles, you can do super bombs. And if you play Super Metroid, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Her ability to visors can scan many things. If you play Metroid Prime, by the way, Metroid Prime is my favorite Metroid in the whole series. It had different visor abilities, from X-ray, from seeing through walls, to scanning anything for information. So her suit has like a giant like directory of scanning things and learning information. It's like instant Google on your suit, right? You scan and it's like Google searching, like, this is what you need to know about this. So
It's almost like the Iron Man user interface.
Exactly. I'm surprised that this wasn't inspired by Iron Man either. Too. I think I'm gonna say it kind of has a little bit in there. Yeah. When it comes to
at the colors,
right? So when it comes to her super ability, sorry, there's a couple more things. Sorry, she has super speed.
Yes,
and she has this move called Screw Attack, and Screw Attack is basically she can use it to hop off walls, but is like a giant. It looks like a buzzsaw every time she jumps. It looks like a giant buzzsaw, and it could destroy anything in her path while she's in this.
Her
jump.
athleticism in that armor is very impressive.
Right, she could jump super high because not only can this suit be super awesome, but it can evolve. So you can add on, because if you play the first one, she didn't have these giant bulky ball-like things on her shoulders. It wasn't until later on. So this suit can be even more upgrade. So this suit really doesn't have a limit. It's just what it can adapt to. It's waterproof. So like you can breathe underwater with no problems. It just has so many other abilities. And one of the things too is and this was later on that you find out that any boss she can beat, she can get that ability and put in her. It's kind of like the Mega Man effect. And now when it comes to her combat style, if you play Smash Brothers, you could tell that, she can throw punches, she can kick, she can do an up kick. Not so much an up kick, she can do an up move spiral, but only she can do kind of like a super high kick. Yeah. It looks like a corkscrew in the air. Does that make sense? Yeah. So Smash Brothers,
it's almost like a cameo, kind of like a cannon drill, but
yeah. And then without her suit, that we realize is that she has this kind of like this lance whip that she can use, I think, on her feet too, and her arms per se. But she's really more of a kicker than anything else. And so, and that's why you always see that compare who would win in a fight between Master Chief and that. And so that's really interesting about that. But Metroid is a series that just carried that legacy of now every game does the Metroidvania effect. Everybody likes doing that exploring, the upgrades, making yourself cooler as you're trying to figure out what's going on in this world. And that's still going to this day. Metroidvania is still going to this day. Even from now, the new game Dead Cell.
Is the Arkham series, the original Arkham, even to Arkham Knight, you get a new gadget, you get the grappling hook. Now you can pull grates out. Now one spot that you could not get through, now you can.
Right.
Now you have this one gadget now.
Right.
And Metroid was wonderful because it's the same thing. I just can't get... Well, when you get past that obstacle, it's a completely new thing now.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's basically Metroid in a nutshell. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to take a dip into the other side of the galaxy with a hero named Master Chief. We'll be right back. Hey, this is Jeremy Evans, the man behind the In-Game Boss program, a network of gaming and other variety shows. But did you know I do my own show? Yeah, it's the In-Game Boss podcast, a show where I challenge not only you, but myself on fun subjects in the gaming culture with fun guests. So come by and be challenged.
I'm your Dream City Saint Nam Tran.
And I am your time-traveling analyst, Jeremy Evans.
We're proud to present to you a new show to the In-Game Boss program, where we watch movies that we love, we hate, and that we hadn't seen before.
As we take you on a journey through the present, the 2000s, the 90s, the 80s, and further back.
So let us take you back to the future.
We did it!
Yeah, we did it! High five!
No, stop that. Stop that. And welcome back to part 2. I'm your host, Jeremy Evans, along with Curtis Scism. And now we are going to take a dip to the other side of the galaxy, where a hero known as Spartans, protect the universe. But this particular Spartan stands out from everybody else. And he's more the silent type. His name is Master Chief. So Curtis, take us away.
Master Chief first appeared in Halo Combat Evolved in 2001. Besides Halo, he's had 4 other main game appearances, whereas a playable character, Halo 2, 3, 4, and 5. He had a cameo in Halo Reach at the very end, and which set up the story for Halo. He is voiced by a radio DJ named Steve Downs. I find that funny too that he has a voice actor despite the few lines. He could almost be the silent protagonist and have Cortana speak for him instead.
That's the thing that happens like in the earlier games. You had people represent talking to you.
Yeah.
Or even like when you're about to talk, someone interrupts you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we talked about in part 1 at the beginning, he is pretty much the face of Xbox, even to this date. And when I think Xbox, I really can't think of any other face. Maybe the guy from Gears of War.
I think that's more of the next gen, but to me, it's more like it's like Zelda to Mario.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like Gears of War is. It's Zelda and Mario. Like you're helping representing it, but you're not the main reason people come to you.
Right.
They come for the star. What's up?
Yes. His character design, he was the concept art. They hired a man named Shikai Wing, and he came up with the conceptual art, and the first design of Master Chief in armor was too slender and almost effeminate. What they did to what you see now when you see Master Chief, they bulked him up quite a bit.
Okay.
The name Master Chief actually in game it is a rank, and originally it was supposed to be a placeholder until they actually gave him a real name, but it just stuck.
Okay.
His name, however, is John, and he was born in the year 2511. In the story, and the government, to combat and keep peace in the galaxy, they come up with a plan of literally kidnapping children from their parents and replacing them with clones, so their parents have no idea that their kid was kidnapped.
That's messed up.
And at the age of 6, he was kidnapped from his home, and he was sent to Planet Reach. There he was given a new name, like each other child, with their first name and a number attached. So he received the name John 117. At the age of 14, he with other children are biologically and cybernetically enhanced. The enhancements came with very big risks, and death was one of those outcomes. He was one of 33 survivors of the program.
So now we know that Samus and Master Chief had very bad childhoods.
Yes.
Yeah.
And throughout the games, he fights back the Covenant, fights back the Flood. What's really weird is Halo is one of those titles where it means different different players get different things from it. What I got from it was, because I never had an Xbox, never played the Halo games, like the story missions, I got the combat multiplayer aspect out of it. The dual wielding, the snipe, the level scape was beautifully done.
So you never really played the stories?
No, never played the stories.
Okay. I played the stories, and one of the things definitely stand out is that even though you're a Spartan, you don't have to do it alone. You have other Spartans that join you. And I think the cool part about the Halo series and going in as a Spartan was a shocker that you're going to this giant ring. And right when you go into this world, you forget that you're on a ring, because it's like there's so many sections to it, and then you look up and you're like, oh yeah, I'm still in this giant ring and stuff like that. And so when you first play the game, I felt like that you don't feel super powerful at first, because you feel like you're just like any other Spartan. But it's not until later on in the game when you start getting these new upgrades, super jump, more of these cool weapons. Because I think what makes Master Chief stand out is that he's good at adapting to the environment that he's at immediately. Yes. And so,
the fact that he can pick up any weapon, even if it's alien tech, and efficiently use it. There's a lot to that when you really think about it. Like, man, this guy is really efficient at anything.
And based on his soldier mentality, he's very straightforward. That's why he's like a man. I think that's why he's a man of few words, because he's just straight. It's all about the mission. I just want to get it done. I don't really have time to talk.
And with as complicated as the level design is, all the back ways, all the hidden paths, in the single player aspect of, he is a tactician. He can go head in first, like a badass in a tank, but he can also think his way, well, how can I get the jump on these guys?
And you can also notice that with Cortana being like, the character that not only brings him out, but I think she represents his feelings, because with the mask, we can only like kind of imagine what his face would be making in these certain scenarios. So like when Katana's going through stressful things and like that, you can kind of see Master Chief really feeling for it. But at the same time, I question is Master Chief never really know what feelings feel like? Like when you're being a kid and you're being trained like a soldier, the last thing on your list will probably be you feeling for things, right? And so
I mean, he was literally raised almost like a Spartan, like the Greek Spartans.
Yeah, so it's hard for you to like express how you feel about things. That's why I think he's a silent type, because he has a hard time expressing stuff. So that's why these characters are there to support him.
Steve Downs, when he was cast, when he was trying to find a voice for Master Chief, in his notes was there was a reference to like a Clint Eastwood type of character.
Oh, okay.
In his
that makes
notes,
sense.
When trying to find a voice.
Okay.
And that kind of just adds a lot when you really look at the character of Master Chief. Like, that makes sense. Blunt to the point, man of few words.
Mm-hmm. And for people that don't want to know the whole story, we don't have time to tell you the whole story. His story is way more complex than Samus. Samus is more straight to the point of I'm sent here to find out these Metroids, move on. Master Chief is going through the galaxy solving issues that are going on, and there's it's more of this story evolves the more he finds out stuff. It's too long for us to sit here and talk about all that kind of stuff. That's why we're just only focusing on what Master Chief known for. And we find out like some tips in the story though is that one that he has super strength.
Yes.
And for instance, like in Halo 2, he had to take care of a bomb issue and all that kind of stuff. And also the fact that like he's very fearless, I guess you can say. Like I have never seen him like react. And of course, we don't know how he is in the suit, but we haven't really seen him really walk backwards after seeing a large beast. He kind of just brings up his gun and he's like,
I'm going in.
All right, let's do this. Don't be scared, guys. Because I heard other Spartans in the games get scared and run and stuff. I've seen that before, but Master Chief was one of those. Well, we got to do this, guys. So let's just go in and do this. And so, but you were talking about the multiplayer. So multiplayer. Let's go into that a little bit for you.
I want to just a fun quote that I just think of Master Chief saying is like, "It's not if I succeed, it's when I succeed the mission. Just it's gonna happen, guys." But back to multiplayer, yeah, like what I was talking about, part one, it definitely introduced the dual wield mechanic that you see in a lot of modern shooters. The level design that Bungie did, I think that inspired a lot of again, kind of blueprints for how to make your shooters. Interesting maps, very diverse maps. No map in Halo felt the same. You traverse them differently. From the beachfront was very different from the cradle.
Yeah, I don't honestly.
I cannot remember the names.
Yeah, not off the top of my head.
All I can describe to you is like each stage was very different. There was a huge diversity of how you got around in each stage.
And another thing too was this was probably the last of the arena fighting. And for people that don't know what arena fighting is basically you have this map, but certain weapons are laid out in particular spots. So you have to go get those weapons and use that. It's totally different now where games nowadays you do your loadout and then you go into the
or
fight.
You pick a class.
Yeah, and you go into the fight. But here it was like free for all. Weapons are laying around. Know where your spots are, where those weapons are. Get to those weapons. Beat your opponent. And so, but one thing I also learned about Master Chief, and I learned this from further down in his story, is the fact that you you really don't see him work well with anybody else.
No.
Like, it was only until Reach. He was in Reach, but not in Reach. Like Reach was a story about 4 different kind of characters, but you find out it was right at the time where he was a child soldier. If I'm correct, I could be 100% wrong. But that was very interesting because you mentioned Reach, and I didn't know that was the home planet for raising super soldiers. But I think that's funny that I think some of these Spartans there were almost like Chief, and I think they also inspire Chief to be the way he is. But overall, Master Chief doesn't really work with anybody. He likes really keeping himself, him and Cortana, the AI and everything like that. And so, is there anything else?
No, that's about it.
So let's talk about the future of these characters. So let's go ahead and start with Master Chief first. So,
I honestly think Master Chief's kind of that book on the shelf now.
Okay.
I am curious what they are going, if they do bring him back in Halo Infinite or as a cameo, or if they reference him. I think it would be neat if they referenced him.
So Halo 6 it's been announced as we speak on the show, and it's going to be made and everything like that. It's interesting you said you want it on the shelf, because at the same time I'm curious too of, well, is it time for him to be on the shelf? I don't know, because I will say that the series is kind of drying up a little bit. I mean, there's only so much of me going here, figuring out this, me here, going here.
It's almost the dilemma that Mass Effect Andromeda had with Shepard. I think Shepard is a very similar kind of conundrum of, come on, guys, it's pushing up to 4 now. Like,
right.
We need to do something.
And I know there's people quite questioning the series of, like, where is this story going? And I think they're trying to treat it as each story is a standalone story in the universe.
Yeah.
But they always leave something on the edge of your seat to know what's going on next. I think like Halo needs to. I think I agree. Halo needs to be on the shelf, but at the same time, it can't be on the shelf because it is still the representative of that. So it's going to be very hard to close that door without, destroying the fan base. You know what I mean? So if you do continue this story, and like they did for 5, they try to do it from a different spec of another character finding Master Chief, which it did not end well because people want to play Master Chief. But I think we need to close the door of a story of Master Chief. Like, this whole story from 1 to 6, this new one, I think the story there needs to close the door. We need to do a new story and take him somewhere else and do something completely different. Because this whole story started building up from one thing to about Cortana, but I don't know to this day, like, what is your purpose? I know you're trying to save the galaxy, but there's something here that you're supposed to take care of.
There has to be an end game.
Yeah, there has to be an end game, at least for this chapter, and I think it's time to end that. So in this next game, I hope they end that story and we get a new Halo, but don't call it Halo 7. Just call it Halo, a new series, and move on to there. So that's what I can see where it's going. For Metroid, to tell you the truth, Metroid could be shelf 2. You have your beginning, you have your ending. Anything you do is in between. You can close that door right now and it'll be fine. But people love Metroid so much because it was the game that filled in the gap when you're not feeling like a 2D fun Mario game or an adventure like Zelda. It was your sci-fi.
Yes.
So Samus can still keep going, but at the same time, I completely understand if they want to close the door. And Metroid doesn't have the flagship material as Master Chief. That's why Metroid only comes once in a while. And people I feel like everybody wants a Metroid, at least one Metroid each console cycle. That's what people want. Maybe not multiples in the same cycle, but just at least one in there because, that's the first thing everybody talks about when a new Nintendo game comes out. When is my Mario? When is my Zelda? When is my Metroid? When is my Pokemon?
Yes.
Those are always the 4 top things. But the problem is, people don't know, is that Metroid, out of all the icons, is the least selling product. Like, Metroid doesn't make a lot of money, as people say. And that's why, like, every time they make a game, they're taking a chance of putting a lot of money into something and not this payoff. So that's why you don't see Metroid come around until like 5 or 6 or 7 years later. Remember,
it's skip systems. Yeah,
right. It skipped the 64 era.
Yep.
You have to remember that. And if it does come back, it's probably like a remaster or something, I think, yeah, it skipped the Wii U era.
Yep.
Yeah. So
After Other M,
right.
That was Other M was a big risk take for them.
It was, and for people that don't Other M, I completely understand if you don't like Other M. I feel like that Other M had a lot of potential. It just didn't make the right decisions.
Yes,
that's why I'll put it like that. And to tell you the truth, I think if they brought that game back and just got rid of some of the mechanics, it can be a wonderful game. It can be a wonderful, wonderful game because I love the action pack of that game. The first person part was the struggle. And so if anybody knows what that is, check it out. I have it because it's my guilty pleasure game. But besides all that, I think that's the future I see Samus going into is more of a story base. But I do want Samus to be introduced with new brands of creatures. I'm tired of space pirates. I want her to be lost in a new world. Like maybe a dimension opens up and she gets zapped into a new universe, new part of the galaxy. Yeah, a new galaxy, new species, brand new story. And then when it comes to the Metroidvania kind of style, maybe we can do something to evolve that a little bit more. How cool would it be if that she gets involved between maybe two planets that can maybe develop from each other. Like a 2-planet will be a pretty cool thing where while she's traveling, this can teleport her to another side, to another planet. You need to do something there, but then go right back to the other planet. These 2 planets connect in some kind of way that create this giant story of something. I feel like this is just something fresh and it hasn't been done before.
Her bringing
Metroid
peace to 2 warring planets, that would be cool.
Yeah. And just kind of throw Ridley in the back now. Like Ridley shouldn't be involved anymore. Ridley was there for this first chapter. Let's move Ridley somewhere else now. And like I said, this galaxy is so big that it's possible that Samus can make it back to her original universe to continue her chronology. And so, what about you? What would you like to see from the Metroid series or Samus?
Something kind of like what I just said. It was her maybe bringing peace to 2 worlds. She gets lost in a wormhole, crash lands, has to figure out what's going on, how to get back.
Yeah, and that could be a whole different. That's another thing that's cool about it. Like you can do this whole different era in between the series. And somehow she's just making her way back. You could go 10, 15 games before she even make it back home. I'm not saying don't do that, but I'm just saying she can leave for a very long time and come back and finish this era.
Yes.
Because just because we saw Metroids in the galaxy she had doesn't mean there's not other Metroids somewhere else in this whole galaxy. You can make up something. So, but with that, that's basically the end of this episode. Once again, for the 14th time, I want to thank everybody for joining us on this saga from the very beginning of Sonic and Mario.
Oh, absolutely.
To all the way now to, Metroid and Samus. But it's not over yet. We have one more episode, the final episode, an episode that we've been trying to get ourselves ready for, really talk into this because this is fresh for me. One character is someone Curtis really, really likes.
Like the back of my hand.
Yeah.
The other characters, oh my gosh.
Right. And this has been, these 2 characters have been talked about in so much conversation with gamers. Yeah.
Even non-gamers too.
Right.
Know who.
Right. And when it comes to the top characters of this category that we can't mention, these 2 characters are 1 and 2 or 2 and 1. They always been up on the top 5 of this list, and so I'm excited to be talking about them soon. But
it's almost some Shakespearean joke, cause in game release, not gonna spoil, but it was just boom and boom, one after the other.
Exactly.
This entry, next entry. Oh my god!
Right.
I'm still trying to process the first character.
And they influence each other. One game influenced this game, and this game influenced the rest of the series.
Yep.
And so without this game, this other game would not exist, and we wouldn't have these characters. So that's crazy, right?
I have never seen such a divide in the fan base of, I love this one, but I've never played that one. I don't like that. And the ones who play the other ones oh, that one, That stole that from this one. That stole that from us. No, this is the definitive one. Just
Right. But until that show gets ready and done, don't forget we have tons of other shows. Other segments. We have Mario and Sonic. We have Princess Zelda and Princess Peach. We have
Dante and Bayonetta.
Yeah, we got the Moogles and Toads.
The aforementioned Lee and Clementine and
yeah,
Joel and Ellie.
And so much more. Tyrant and Pyramid Head? That's a weird one. So, definitely check all those episodes out. And if you have any other questions, please email us at theingameoffice@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter. We are also on Facebook.
I'm on Twitter. You can find me.
Right.
I love talking games.
Right. And if you are hearing this show on Podbean, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, awesome. Let other people know that we're on all those networks as part of the In-Game Boss program. And this is a network of all gaming and other variety shows. So if you come here to listen to Gaming Hall of Rivalries, there are other shows you can listen to while you're there, and they're there to keep you company. We have the In-Game Boss podcast that I do. We have Area 44 that I do with John Robles. And we have Bond Never Dies, the James Bond podcast. So check all those out. Leave us a review. Leave us comments. Tell us how we're doing. What would you like to see Rivals, as characters? What are your preferences on the characters that we talked about? Are you a Samus fan, or are you more of a Master Chief fan? We love to hear your opinions.
Leave a feedback.
Right? Follow and subscribe. That helps us and shows us that you are enjoying the show, and it keeps you updated. When an episode premieres, you're there. And so, like I said, this has been a wonderful journey, and hopefully, if this is the first episode you listen to, hopefully you will go back to the other episodes, because the best part about this, you can start anywhere you want.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, to start anywhere you want and just go from there. Pick what you like, and then hopefully that will carry you to the next thing of the Gaming Halls of Rivalries. And with that, we will catch y'all on our next episode, the final episode.